Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into something deep, something that'll change the way you see people, and honestly, the way you see yourself. We're talking about Nietzsche's 18 psychological truths, a framework to understand what makes people tick, what they're hiding, and why they act the way they do. This isn't some surface-level listicle or quick tips video. This is a full-on breakdown, split into 3 powerful parts, each building on the last. If you skip ahead or miss a section, you'll miss the depth that makes this work. So stick with me, because by the end, you won't just understand others, you'll uncover truths about yourself you didn't see coming. From the moment we're born, we're taught to trust what people say. Words are how we connect, right? They're like the currency of human interaction. But Nietzsche, this brilliant philosopher, warned us not to fall for it. People don't always speak from truth. They speak from survival, from ego, from fear. The person you're talking to, that polished personality, that confident smile, that sharp opinion, it's not always them. It's their armor. The overly kind person might not be kind at all. They could be terrified of being rejected. The one who seems unshakably strong, they might be crumbling inside, praying no one notices. And here's the kicker. Most people don't even realize they're doing it. They're actors in a play they didn't write, shaped by what's kept them safe or accepted. Nietzsche once said, "Every profound spirit needs a mask." But he wasn't throwing shade. He was giving us a heads up. Don't mistake the mask for the person. So how do you see past the mask? Here's the secret. People leak the truth all the time. Not in their words, but in the cracks. It's in the way they look away when a topic hits too close to home. It's the laugh that lingers a bit too long, or the quick subject change when things get real. Nietzsche's first truth is this: everyone wears a mask to survive. Not because they're fake, but because they're scared. Society demands a version of you that fits in, so people craft personas they hope will be accepted. But masks aren't perfect. They slip. And the first sign of the real person? Tension. Watch for what makes someone squirm. That's where the truth starts to show. Let's move to the second truth. What someone hates in others reveals what they're hiding in themselves. This is one of Nietzsche's sharpest insights, and it's a game changer. It's called projection. Ever notice how someone who's always calling out arrogance seems a little insecure themselves? Or the person obsessed with pointing out lies might be dodging a truth they can't face? We hate in others what we're afraid to admit in ourselves. So next time you want to read someone, don't just focus on what they love. Pay attention to what they criticize and why. That's where their hidden struggles live. Truth number 3. Silence speaks louder than words. Nietzsche didn't think truth came from what people say. He saw language as a tool we use to dodge reality, to fit in with the crowd. When someone pauses before answering, when they sidestep certain topics, or give short, rehearsed answers to deep questions, that's when you listen. That silence is deafening. It's them avoiding vulnerability, showing you exactly what they're afraid of. So when you're trying to understand someone, don't just hear their words. Listen to what they're not saying. Fourth truth. Excessive virtue is often just vanity in disguise. Be cautious of the person who's always shouting about their goodness, always correcting others, always preaching. Nietzsche called this the will to power dressed up as morality. Sometimes people use virtue as a mask to feel superior. The louder someone signals their purity, the more likely they're hiding something behind it. Real goodness doesn't need a megaphone, it just exists. So when you see someone performing their morality, ask yourself, what are they trying to prove? Truth number 5. People don't lie to you first, they lie to themselves. This one flips everything. When someone says, "I'm fine," or "I'm over it," or "I don't care," those aren't always lies meant to trick you. They're lies they've told themselves so many times they believe them. Nietzsche saw self-deception not as malice, but as a defense mechanism, a way to keep going in a tough world. So when someone's story doesn't add up, don't assume they're out to get you. They've probably been fooling themselves far longer. Those inconsistencies, they're the cracks where the truth slips out. Sixth truth. Where someone feels superior, they're hiding inferiority. This is pure Nietzsche. He believed that superiority is often a cover for feeling less than. The person who's always bragging about their achievements, they might fear they're not enough. The one who casually puts others down, They're probably terrified of being overlooked. Real confidence doesn't need to compete. It just is. So when someone's trying to dominate or prove themselves, look deeper. Behind the throne, you'll often find a scared kid wearing a crown. Reading people isn't about judging them, it's about seeing their core. When someone interrupts all the time, it's not always arrogance. It might be a fear of being forgotten. When someone's always posting about how happy they are, it could be a cry for help. When someone avoids eye contact while saying, "I'm fine," trust the body, not the words. Use these truths not to gain power over people, but to show compassion. The clearer you see someone, the harder it is to hate them. That's Nietzsche's secret. He didn't want you to see through people to control them. He wanted you to see through them, to connect with them, to stop being fooled, and to start understanding. If you've ever looked at someone and felt like you're only seeing the surface, like there's something deeper you're missing, drop a comment below. Tell me about a moment when someone showed you their truth without saying a word. And if this is hitting home, hit that subscribe button. There's so much more to come as we unpack Nietzsche's truths. It's one thing to notice the mask, it's another to see it crack. Stay tuned for part 2, where we go even deeper. Let's keep peeling back the layers together. Welcome back, everyone. If you're here, you've already dived into part 1 of Nietzsche's 18 psychological truths, and you're starting to see how people wear masks. Not to deceive, but to survive. Those cracks in the mask, the moments of tension, the things left unsaid, that's where the real person starts to show. In part 2, we're going deeper, exploring how those masks begin to break and what those breakdowns reveal. Nietzsche believed the self isn't a fixed thing. It's a performance, stitched together to navigate a tough world. When that performance is challenged, the truth leaks out. Let's jump into truths 7 through 12 and uncover what's really going on beneath the surface. Truth number 7. Most actions are driven by unconscious fear. Think about it. Why does someone over-explain themselves? Why do they dominate a conversation or vanish when things get heavy? Why say yes when they clearly mean no? It's fear. Fear of abandonment, rejection, humiliation, or failure. Nietzsche knew people rarely act from pure desire. They're driven by a deeper fear of losing something: status, love, self-worth. So when you're trying to read someone, don't just focus on what they say they want. Ask yourself, what are they afraid of losing? That's where the real story lives. Next time someone's acting strange, look for the fear behind it. It's the key to understanding them. 8th truth. When someone criticizes too much, it's projection. You've met someone like this, right? The guy who's always mocking emotional people, or the person who calls out everyone else's flaws. Nietzsche said judgment is rarely about the other person. It's a mirror. The man who sneers at emotional outbursts might be terrified of his own feelings. The woman who picks apart someone's looks, she's likely fighting a secret battle with her own reflection. Projection isn't just a defense, it's a confession. When you hear someone constantly criticizing, don't get distracted by their target. Trace it back to the speaker. What are they trying to hide? Their criticisms are a map to their pain. 10th truth. Exaggeration reveals the hidden truth. This one's subtle, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. Someone who says, "I don't care what anyone thinks," probably cares a ton. The person who's always claiming, "I'm so happy," might be anything but. Nietzsche believed that exaggeration is a tell. It's the ego trying to drown out doubt. When someone's statements are too absolute, too loud, don't buy the surface. Look for the insecurity underneath. Exaggeration is like turning up the volume to silence something deeper. So ask yourself, what are they trying to drown out? That's where the truth hides. Truth number 11. Those who seek control often fear inner chaos. We all want some control. In our work, our relationships, our routines. But some people take it to another level. They micromanage every detail, freak out over change, or need to dominate to feel okay. Nietzsche saw this clearly. When someone's inner world is a mess, they try to control the outer world obsessively. It's not strength, it's fear. They're terrified that if they let go, everything will fall apart. So instead of clashing with the control freak, see them for what they are. Someone whose strict outer shell is holding together a fragile inner self. The more rigid the exterior, the shakier the core. 12th truth. The louder the performance, the emptier the core. This one hits hard, especially in today's world. Think about social media, the endless look-at-me energy, the perfect poses, the curated lives. Nietzsche would have called this desperation, not strength. When someone's constantly performing, always posting, always shining, always on, it's because they don't believe they'll be seen or loved without it. They're creating noise to fill a void. The person who truly knows themselves doesn't need an audience. They're already whole. So when you see someone putting on a show, don't mistake it for power. It's a whisper of need, a cry to be noticed. By now, you're probably feeling it, a shift in how you see people. You walk into a room and the patterns start speaking louder than the words. Someone interrupts constantly and you realize they're scared of being forgotten. Someone boasts endlessly and you sense their invisible wounds. You're not reading minds, you're reading masks. Nietzsche handed you a flashlight to see through the performance, and it's not just a skill. It's a responsibility. Once you see these truths, you can't unsee them. But here's the thing. Reading people isn't about gaining leverage. It's about offering grace. When you see the fear behind the bully, the guilt behind the arrogance, the child behind the critic, you don't become weaker. You become unshakable. We're not done yet. Part 3 is coming, and it's where we strip away the final layer. We'll dive into how people's deepest childhood wounds show up in their adult lives, how their envy, their silence, their need to be remembered, all reveal their soul. You'll learn the final 6 truths that give you crystal clear vision, not just of others, but of yourself. If this part opened your eyes, drop a comment below. Which of these truths hit you the hardest? Let's talk about it. And if you're ready for more, hit subscribe. Part 3 is going to take this to a whole new level. You're not just noticing masks anymore, you're watching them crack. Stay with me, and let's keep going. Hey, welcome back. If you've made it to part 3 of Nietzsche's 18 psychological truths, you're already seeing people in a new light. In part 1, we learned how everyone wears masks to survive. And in part 2, we saw how those masks crack under pressure, revealing fear, projection, and hidden guilt. Now, we're going all the way to the core. This final part is about the soul, the deep wounds and beliefs that shape who people are and why they act the way they do. Nietzsche didn't just want us to spot patterns. He wanted us to understand where they come from. Let's dive into truths 13 through 18 and finish what we started. Truth number 13. No one speaks from logic, they speak from pain. You might think people are rational, that their arguments come from facts or their decisions from reason. Nietzsche disagreed. He believed every logical stance is rooted in an emotional wound. Someone says, love's just a fantasy. But listen closer. They're not stating a fact. They're shielding a scar. People build their views based on what hurt them, then dress those views up with logic. So when you want to understand someone's worldview, don't ask what they believe. Ask what broke them. What scared them? What do they never want to feel again? This shifts everything. Their opinions aren't attacks. They're defenses. Their arguments aren't threats. They're shields. Once you see that, you stop reacting and start understanding. 14th truth. How someone reacts to weakness reveals their power. Want to know who someone really is? Don't watch how they treat the powerful. Watch how they treat someone who can't fight back. Nietzsche believed real strength isn't about domination. It's about restraint. If someone mocks vulnerability, they're likely afraid of their own. If they punish mistakes, they probably weren't allowed to make any growing up. If they always win but leave others hurting, they're still fighting an inner war. But the person who can sit with weakness without judgment, who can stay calm in someone's sadness, who forgives when they could punish, that's someone who's won their inner battles. They don't need to prove anything. So give someone a chance to show compassion. Their choice in that moment tells you more than their words ever could. Truth number 15. When someone fears being forgotten, they chase attention. You've met them, the person who needs every eye in the room, whose stories, outfits, or posts scream, "Notice me." It looks like confidence, but Nietzsche saw it as fear, the fear of being invisible, of living and dying without a trace. The child who is ignored grows into the adult who overcompensates, demanding love through performance, drama, or chaos. They can't bear the silence, so they make noise. When you see someone being too much, Don't judge. Ask what happens if they're not enough. Sometimes attention isn't vanity, it's a cry for connection. 16th truth. The person they attack is often the person they envy. This one's tough to swallow. Nietzsche believed people don't always attack out of hate. Sometimes it's because they admire but feel they can't measure up. Criticism is easier than admitting, "I want that too." The person who tears down someone successful, mocks confidence, or gossips about freedom, they're in pain. Seeing someone live out a part of themselves they've buried reminds them of what they've lost. Envy isn't just spite, it's unspoken desire. The soul whispering, "I wish I could be that, but I don't think I'm allowed." When you see this in others, you become immune to their hate. When you see it in yourself, you start to break free. 17th truth. People act out their childhood, not their beliefs. You've heard it said, people don't change. Nietzsche would say, they repeat. They replay the roles, fears, and dynamics they learned as kids. Someone who has never heard becomes someone who never listens. Someone punished for emotions grows cold and detached. Someone who had to earn love performs for affection, even when it's toxic. They think they're acting from logic or values, but they're reenacting their past. So to read someone, don't just look at who they are. Ask who they had to be. Their behavior is their biography, and behind every adult is a child still waiting to feel safe. 18th truth. Their patterns are a confession if you know how to listen. This is the final truth, and it ties everything together. People may not say what hurts, but they'll show you through patterns. The person who ghosts when things get close, they're saying, "I'm scared of being hurt." The one who overworks to avoid stillness, they're running from something inside. The one who flirts with everyone but connects with no one, they're protecting themselves from rejection. Nietzsche believed that if you listen deeply, not to words but to patterns, you'll hear the truth before it's spoken. And when you do, you stop taking things personally. You stop judging. You start understanding. You become a mirror, not a weapon, choosing grace over power. Take a moment to let this sink in. These 18 truths aren't just about other people. They're about you, your patterns, your fears, your childhood scripts. The clearer you see others, the clearer you see yourself. Nietzsche didn't want us to just observe. He wanted us to wake up, to realize that what we judge in others is what we carry, and what we admire is what we long to be. This isn't the end. It's the start of a new way of seeing. If this hit you, drop a comment below. Which of these truths struck you the most? Share a moment when you saw someone's pattern and realized what it meant. Let's build something real in a world full of masks. And if this series spoke to you, hit subscribe. There's more coming to help you see what's hidden and become who you really are. It's one thing to spot the mask. It's another to understand the soul behind it. Thanks for sticking with me. Let's keep growing together. Hey, what's good, everyone? Welcome to part 4 of our deep dive into Nietzsche's 18 psychological truths, the ultimate guide to reading people and understanding what's really going on beneath the surface. If you've been with us through parts 1, 2, and 3, you're already catching those subtle clues people leave behind, seeing through their masks, and spotting the fears and wounds driving their actions. Now, we're circling back to reinforce and expand on the first 6 truths from part 1, but with fresh examples and a conversational twist to keep it real for your YouTube vibe. This part kicks off a new cycle, so if you're just joining, you're in for a ride. Just make sure to check out the earlier parts for the full context. Let's dive into truths 1 through 6 again, with a new lens. First truth. Everyone wears a mask to survive. Nietzsche was clear. People don't show you their raw selves because life teaches them to protect what's vulnerable. Think about your coworker who's always cracking jokes, keeping things light. That's not just their personality, it's armor. Maybe they're dodging something heavy at home, or they learned early on that being funny keeps people from asking too many questions. The mask isn't fake, it's survival. But here's where it gets interesting. The truth slips through in moments of tension, like when you ask them about their weekend and their smile falters for a split second before they pivot to another joke. That's the crack. Watch for what makes someone uneasy. It's the first glimpse of who they really are. Truth number 2. What someone hates in others reveals what they're hiding. This is projection, and it's wild how often it shows up. Take that friend who's always ranting about lazy people. Ever notice they're the ones stressing over their own productivity, maybe beating themselves up for not doing enough? Nietzsche nailed it. We criticize what we're scared to face in ourselves. So when someone's constantly dragging others, flip the script. Don't focus on their target. Ask what that criticism says about them. Like, if they're always calling people attention seekers, maybe they're craving validation but can't admit it. It's like they're holding up a mirror without realizing it. Third truth: silence speaks louder than words. Nietzsche didn't trust language to tell the full story. Words are often just noise to avoid the real stuff. Ever ask someone how they're doing and they hit you with a quick, "I'm good," but won't look you in the eye? That pause, that dodge, that short answer, it's louder than anything they could say. I had a friend once who'd go quiet every time we talked about family. Took me a while to realize it wasn't me. It was a topic that hit too close to something they weren't ready to face. Silence isn't empty. It's full of what they're protecting. So when someone clams up, don't push. Just listen to what their quiet is telling you. Truth number 4. Excessive virtue is disguised vanity. You know those people who can't stop flexing how good they are? Always posting about their charity work or calling out others for not being ethical enough? Nietzsche called this out as the will to power in disguise. It's not about goodness, it's about feeling superior. I saw this on social media recently, someone preaching about kindness while subtly shading anyone who didn't agree with them. Real kindness doesn't need a spotlight. So when someone's virtue feels performative, ask, what's the applause they're chasing? The louder the moral flex, the more likely they're hiding something. Fifth truth: people lie to themselves before they lie to you. This one's a gut punch. When someone says, "I'm over my ex," but they're still stalking their Instagram, or work's fine, but they're drained every day, they're not trying to fool you, they're fooling themselves. Nietzsche saw self-deception as a survival tool, a way to keep moving through pain. Like, think about someone who says, "I don't need anyone," but they're always fishing for compliments. The lie isn't for you, it's their shield. When their story doesn't add up, don't take it personally. Those gaps are where the truth leaks out, showing you what they're wrestling with deep down. Sixth truth: superiority hides inferiority. Nietzsche was all about this. People who act like they're above everyone else are often covering up feeling less than. The boss who's always name-dropping their accomplishments, they might be terrified they're not good enough. The friend who casually puts others down in group chats, probably scared of being overlooked. Real confidence doesn't need to flex, it's quiet, steady. So when someone's trying to one-up or control the room, don't buy the act. Look for the insecurity they're overcompensating for. It's like they're wearing a crown to hide the kid inside who's afraid they don't measure up. These truths are like tools for decoding the world around you. That person who's always fine but never makes eye contact? You know now it's not about you, it's their shield. The one who's quick to judge others' flaws? You see their own struggles reflected. Reading people isn't about being sneaky or manipulative, it's about understanding what makes them human. Nietzsche's point wasn't to give you power over others. It was to help you connect, to see past the noise and find the real person. The more you understand their fears, the less you're fooled by their masks, and the more you can show up with compassion. If any of this is hitting home, drop a comment below. Tell me about a time you noticed someone's mask slip, maybe a moment of silence or a quick jab that revealed more than they meant to. Let's get real in the comments. And if you're vibing with this series, smash that subscribe button. Parts 5 and 6 are coming, and we're going deeper into how these truths play out in everyday life. You're not just learning to read people, you're learning to see the world differently. Stick with me, and let's keep unpacking Nietzsche's wisdom together. What's up, everyone? Welcome to part 5 of our journey through Nietzsche's 18 psychological truths. These are the keys to decoding what people are really saying, even when their words don't match their truth. If you've been with us through parts 1 through 4, you're already picking up on the masks people wear, the cracks where their fears slip through, and the wounds driving their behavior. In part 4, we revisited the first 6 truths with fresh eyes, and now we're diving back into truths 7 through 12, the ones we covered in part 2, but with new stories and a conversational spin to keep it real for YouTube. This is about seeing deeper into those moments when people's personas start to break. Let's jump in. Truth number 7. Most actions are driven by unconscious fear. Nietzsche knew people don't act from some pure, logical place. They're moved by fear of losing something. Ever notice someone who overexplains every little thing, like they're defending themselves before you even ask? I had a friend who'd go on and on about why they were late, traffic, their dog, you name it. At first, I thought they were just chatty. But then I saw it. They were scared of being judged, of seeming unreliable. Whether it's dominating a conversation, ghosting when things get real, or saying yes when they mean no, it's fear at the wheel. Fear of rejection, failure, or not being enough. So when someone's behavior feels off, don't just hear their excuse. Ask, what are they afraid of losing? That's the truth behind the action. 8th truth. Constant criticism is projection. You've seen this. Someone who's always pointing out flaws in others, like they've got a radar for it. Nietzsche said this isn't about the person they're criticizing. It's about them. I knew someone who'd always call out fake people, rolling their eyes at anyone who seemed too polished. But one day, they admitted they felt like a fraud at their job, always pretending to have it together. That's projection, criticizing what you're scared to face in yourself. The guy who mocks sensitive people might be bottling up his own emotions. The person who calls everyone selfish, they might be wrestling with their own guilt. When someone's always judging, don't focus on their target. Look at what their words reveal about them. It's like they're confessing without knowing it. Truth number 9. Confidence is often guilt in disguise. You know those people who seem too put together? Always in control, always certain? Nietzsche saw through that. That rock-solid exterior is sometimes a cover for something they're ashamed of. I had a boss once who'd strut into meetings, acting like they had all the answers, but when someone challenged them, they'd get defensive, almost panicked. Later, I learned they were terrified of being seen as a failure after a past mistake. That over-the-top confidence wasn't strength, it was a performance to hide guilt or regret. So when someone's acting untouchable, look closer. Notice the cracks, the tense smile, the quick defensiveness. Real confidence doesn't need to prove itself. What's the guilt they're trying to outrun? 10th truth. Exaggeration betrays the truth. This one's so easy to spot once you know what to look for. Someone says, I'm totally fine, but their voice shakes. Or they claim, I never get mad, while clenching their fists. Nietzsche believed exaggeration is the ego shouting to drown out doubt. I had a friend who'd always say, I'm killing it at work, but then they'd let slip they hadn't slept in days from stress. That over-the-top claim was covering insecurity. When someone's words are too big, too absolute, don't buy the surface. Ask, what are they trying to convince themselves of? Exaggeration isn't just loud, it's a signal of what they're hiding from. 11th truth. Those who crave control fear inner chaos. We all like a little control, but some people take it to the extreme, micromanaging every detail, freaking out over change or needing to run the show. Nietzsche saw this as a sign of inner turmoil. The stricter someone is on the outside, the messier their inner world. I knew someone who'd plan every hangout down to the minute, and if things went off script, they'd shut down. It wasn't about being organized, it was about keeping their anxiety in check. Control freaks aren't strong, they're scared that letting go means falling apart. So instead of getting annoyed, see the chaos they're trying to manage. It's not about you, it's about their fragile core. 12th truth. The louder the performance, the emptier the core. Social media is a goldmine for this one. The endless posts, the perfect filters, the look at my life energy. Nietzsche would have called it desperation. When someone's always performing, always needing to be seen, it's because they feel invisible without it. Think about the influencer who's constantly flexing their perfect life, but never shares the messy stuff. They're not confident, they're scared no one will care if they stop performing. Real self-worth doesn't need a stage. So when someone's life feels like a show, don't envy them. Ask what void they're trying to fill. Their performance is a whisper of need. You're probably starting to see it now. those moments when people reveal more than they mean to. The friend who over-explains is scared of judgment. The coworker who's always on is hiding a wound. Nietzsche's truths are like a cheat code for understanding people, but it's not about catching them out. It's about seeing their humanity. These patterns aren't random. They're clues to what someone's carrying. Use this to connect, not control. The more you see their fears, the less their masks fool you, and the more you can show up with empathy. If this is resonating, drop a comment below. Tell me about a time you spotted one of these truths in action. Maybe someone's exaggeration or need for control gave them away. Let's keep the conversation going. And if you're loving this series, hit that subscribe button. Part 6 is coming, and we're wrapping up with the final truths to tie it all together. You're not just reading people, you're seeing through to their soul. Stay with me, and let's finish strong. What's good, everyone? Welcome to Part 6, the final chapter of our deep dive into Nietzsche's 18 psychological truths, the ultimate toolkit for reading people and seeing past their masks. If you've been with us through parts 1 to 5, you're already spotting the subtle signs, the tension, the projection, the performances that reveal what people are hiding. In Part 5, we revisited truths 7 through 12, and now we're closing out with truths 13 through 18, circling back to the soul-level insights from Part 3. This time, we're tying it all together with fresh examples and a conversational vibe to keep it real for YouTube. Let's finish strong and uncover the deepest layers of what makes people tick. Truth number 13. No one speaks from logic. They speak from pain. You might think people's opinions or arguments come from a rational place, but Nietzsche saw something else. Every stance, every fact is rooted in an emotional scar. I had a friend who'd always say, "Trust is overrated. People always let you down." Sounded like a cold take, but one day they opened up about a betrayal that wrecked them as a kid. That wasn't logic talking. It was pain. People build their beliefs to protect old wounds, then wrap them in reasoning to sound solid. So when someone's coming at you with a strong opinion, don't just debate the surface. Ask, what hurt shaped this? What are they scared of feeling again? It's like their words are a shield, and once you see that, you stop arguing and start understanding. 14th truth. How someone reacts to weakness reveals their power. Nietzsche believed you don't see someone's true character in how they treat the strong. It's how they handle the vulnerable. I saw this at a family gathering once. One relative was quick to judge a cousin who was struggling, calling them weak for opening up. But the one who listened, who didn't flinch at the tears, that was real strength. If someone mocks vulnerability, they're probably terrified of their own. If they punish mistakes, they might have grown up in a world where errors weren't allowed. But the person who can sit with someone's pain, who forgives instead of criticizes, that's someone who's faced their own demons. Watch how people treat those who can't fight back. That's the real measure of who they are. 15th truth. When someone fears being forgotten, they chase attention. Ever know someone who's always the loudest in the room? The one whose posts, stories, or vibes scream, "Look at me." It looks like confidence, but Nietzsche saw it as fear. Fear of being invisible, of fading away without a mark. I had a coworker who'd always steer conversations to their wins, their trips, their life. At first I thought they were just full of themselves, but then I noticed how anxious they got when no one reacted. That need for attention wasn't ego, it was a kid who felt ignored, still trying to be seen. When someone's too much, don't roll your eyes. Ask what happens if they're not noticed. That hunger for attention is often a cry for connection. 16th truth. The person they attack is often the person they envy. This one's raw. Nietzsche knew that attacks aren't always about hate. Sometimes they're about admiration people can't admit. I saw this with a friend who'd constantly shade a mutual acquaintance for being so confident. Turns out, my friend felt stuck, wishing they could carry themselves with that same ease. Criticizing is easier than saying, "I want what they have." Envy is painful. It's seeing someone live a life you feel you can't. So when someone's tearing another person down, look past the venom. They're not just angry, they're longing. Recognizing this makes you bulletproof to petty hate and helps you see your own envy as a sign of what you're chasing. 17th truth. People act out their childhood, not their beliefs. Nietzsche would say people don't act from logic or values, they replay the roles they learned as kids. Someone who was never heard might talk over everyone now. Someone who had to earn love might still perform for approval, even in toxic situations. I knew someone who'd always shut down during conflict, going cold and distant. Later, they shared they grew up in a house where emotions were punished. Their silence wasn't about the fight. It was their childhood script playing out. To read someone, don't just look at their actions. Ask, who did they have to be to survive back then? Their behavior is a story, and it's written in their past. 18th truth. Their patterns are a confession if you know how to listen. This is the big one, tying it all together. People don't always say what hurts, but their patterns scream it. The friend who bails when things get deep, they're scared of being hurt. The one who's always busy but never stops, they're running from stillness. The person who charms everyone but never opens up, they're guarding a wound. Nietzsche believed that if you pay attention to these patterns, not the words, but the habits, you'll hear the truth loud and clear. And when you do, you stop taking it personally. You stop judging. You see the kid behind the mask, and you choose understanding over control. This journey's been wild, right? These 18 truths aren't just about decoding others. They're a mirror for you. Every pattern you spot in someone else is a chance to see your own fears, your own scripts. Nietzsche didn't just want you to read people. He wanted you to wake up, to see that what you judge or admire in others is what you carry or crave yourself. This isn't the end. It's a new way of moving through the world with clearer eyes and a bigger heart. If this series hit you, drop a comment. Which truth shook you the most? Maybe you saw a pattern in someone or yourself that clicked. Let's talk about it and build something real in a world full of masks. If you've loved this, hit subscribe. We're just getting started with more ways to see what's hidden and grow into who you're meant to be. Thanks for sticking with me. You're not just reading people, you're seeing their souls, and maybe even your own. Let's keep going.